2025. All our councilors present.
Second, Doug.
Except Doug.
Yeah.
He should be along shortly, I think. We're ready to go.
Lots of loads.
All right, so I have a little chart here for you, just to make it a little easier. Tonight, we're gonna do just a welcome and purpose, an overview, key pressure points, changes since last workshop, open discussion and council questions, and areas where we find we're needing council direction. So, the purpose of this workshop is to walk through our budget together in a way that builds shared understanding and helps us focus on the choices ahead. We're here to look at the full picture, understand what is driving costs, review our priorities, and talk through the areas where council direction is needed. Tonight, it is about clarity, collaboration, and setting ourselves up to make thoughtful decisions for the year ahead and for the community that we serve. So tonight, we'll look at the budget as a whole, so everyone has a clear sense of where we stand before diving into individual changes. This includes our projected revenues, our major expenditures, and how both compare to last year. We'll highlight the main cost drivers that are shaping this budget. We will also take a look at any strategic priorities and the overall effect on our budget. So the key pressure points that you see here, inflation, 4.4% for Aroostook County. This budget that is presented to you tonight is 1.48% over what was last year. Capital cuts, we need a scissor lift, we need an excavator, we need a bucket truck. Taxation review, we're gonna look at that. And the mill rate is a 0.71 increase, so it was $21.99. It's at $22.70, and that $21.99 was last year. Where are we? Well, we're $296,000, $616 over last year, and that's where this budget comes over. Paving, and now this is coming from an individual councilor. Paving, and I think I heard this sentiment a couple of different times throughout meetings, is too thin. So we probably are going to want to take a look at that. And then outside requests, some of them are in excess of $20,000. And we may want to discuss that as a key pressure point. So I'll kind of open the floor up to these ideas, and we can add pressure points if you have pressure points that you really think we ought to be looking at.
I'd be interested, and I think we probably covered this, but it's escaped my mind since then, the risks that we run if we don't replace that equipment, or if we don't get that equipment.
Okay, yeah.
So, we've not had a scissor lift, correct?
No, we have a scissor lift, it's over in the forum.
The industrial council and the forum share it, so it goes back and forth
Okay,
between.
so, but I'm saying this isn't replacing, this is adding, right?
It is adding,
Okay,
it is adding.
and then the excavator is replacing or adding?
The excavator is,
It's
well,
replacing, right? Yeah.
Replacing, okay, and the bucket truck is
new.
new?
Yeah, I haven't finished calculating it, but we spend buku bucks renting bucket trucks from anything from electrical stuff to hanging stuff, and I haven't wrapped my head around how much that number actually is, but we're gonna talk about the government surplus in a little while.
Right,
We've got our eye on the radar, so we're not asking for a bucket truck this year. We're just gonna be looking for one so that I can cut those ridiculous costs of renting them every time.
Laura, do you have numbers of what we've spent in previous years as far as like hiring on wood electric or maybe electric?
That's what we're calculating right now. Because with a bucket truck, okay, that solves the problem, providing the person we use is trained to be in it, right? We're hiring electricians that really, because he has a bucket truck, right?
Well,
Not
that's just
necessarily because we need an electrician.
Right, you're also gonna need somebody with a Class B or Class A depending on
Sure.
what kind of truck you're in.
Sure.
So,
We've got a pretty skilled workforce though, as far as, you know, what they can drive, so I imagine we would find somebody.
This is the first I've heard of a need for a bucket truck.
Well, probably the first you've heard that we spend thousands every year renting that or paying somebody for use of it. And I think this won't be a conversation for this year necessarily, but if we're looking for long-term capital equipment needs, we could save some money with our own budget.
So what's in the budget for those right now?
Not a thing. I took the excavator out, but there was some heartburn among counselors
Yeah.
and certainly department head
Okay.
on the excavator. It was 475, I think Nate got it down to 370.
Probably 350, and that's without a trade-in, and I'm guessing the trade-in will probably be around 20 or 30, so probably closer to 320.
Okay, so Nate's budget had an excavator.
Right.
Sonia's budget did not.
Right, gotcha.
So that's where we're
So none of that is in this 296?
None of it.
Gotcha.
But these are things that I've heard
Yep.
counselors say we either shouldn't have cut it out or gee.
Yeah.
Should
Well,
we have?
the excavator, I thought when we had discussion about that, we were gonna take and use what Dana had and then pay it back and just kind of look to do something like a, used vehicle for Nate.
Yeah, because they're looking at the DRMO, the used equipment from the government.
Yes, and we, Chief and Chief Chris and I worked yesterday reviving that. Apparently, we just haven't looked at it in several years. We
Right.
still are qualified to do so. So Tyler Clark, Nate, the chiefs are working together, and they've already started looking for some of these things and for other things that we need. We also, once upon a time, used to discuss at the department head level what each department needed for equipment, and the chief would watch for those things.
Right.
So that's gonna be part of what we do going into 2026.
Yeah.
Well, going into now.
Makes sense.
Are there any other key pressure points that you feel need to be on this that staff should take a look at? I think personnel is sort of the elephant in the room. We have calculated some savings. It's already in your budget numbers that Laura will go over after this. But we're working on some transition plans, so we're not gonna make those announcements. Any other key pressure points? Or do you wanna discuss any of these?
No, I think you guys are already doing the right stuff. I think if we can get the numbers on, what is the risk if we don't get the excavator? Same thing with paving, if we cut that entirely, or if we cut it to where we're at, what are we risking?
Well, I think the last time that we spoke with Nate, he mentioned that they can still use the one that they've got effectively and efficiently. It's just they were looking to replace it somewhere down the road, correct?
Yeah, so it's on our replacement plan to be replaced this year. We have had some increased maintenance costs with it this year, just because of the age of it. So they'll keep it running, they'll keep it going, it's just the maintenance is gonna
You guys
continue
find
to
yourself
increase.
spending quite a bit of time.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of just new things popping up with it, as especially, we're not gonna deal with it at all until the spring again, because we don't use it in the winter time, but once we get that back out in the spring, we'll start having issues with it as soon as we get it back out in the field and start using it.
Nate, what is it called, the RMS system or
RSMS,
RSMS? What does that say we should be spending every year for paving? I mentioned paving because if we should be spending 600 and we cut it to 400, then that means next year we're already 200, behind the 8 ball plus what we unfunded this year.
so the RSMS, or the version of it that we use, the initial 700,000 that I requested was what we needed to cover what our schedule said we needed to pave next year. So anything that you cut from that 700 will have to roll to the following year, and then whatever we have to cut next year will just progressively.
But is that where it's at now, that it needs 700,000 a year to keep up with the system, or was this a high year?
It
You know what I
is,
mean?
it is about an average year. We're averaging right around 600,000 to 700,000. If you look out over the next 5-6 years, you have 1 year, I wanna say it is in 2030, 2031, where it takes a dip, just because of the amount of streets that we've done over the last few years, but on average, we're looking around 600,000 to 700,000 per year that we need to spend to stay on pace with what the schedule is telling us.
So is that a mileage figure?
So we use that, not necessarily a mileage, it's just based off of what the lifespan is of a street. So if we do an overlay, it's good for 12 years, so all the ones we did this year, we input it into RMS the last time it was paved, and then it'll populate it 12 years from now, and that needs to be done again that year.
Do you have any numbers of what you have for like lost man time or repairs or pricing for anything like that to go along with what you're looking at for the excavator?
I don't have them with, but I can get those, we do a monthly report that shows what we spend each month on each parts, labor, and, not necessarily lost time as far as how much time we lost on a job or if we had to pause a job, but we do have the parts and labor that we spend on each individual piece.
We will return to this conversation during the strategic planning stuff too. You're doing great. It's not a good question. But I just want you to know that this will come back at the strategic planning session where we talk about whether you wanna take out a note for these things, whether you wanna plan for it better in 2027, or how you want to deal with that. What, government surplus may take care of that. Anybody wanna talk about outside requests? Because I'm not sure if I have a majority.
So the question that I had was, last year, we had agreed to in our budget, when we voted, for about $8,000 to go to the skiing center, plug and go. And then the budget, line item was 15,000, and that's what was paid. That's not what we authorized. And so we did not authorize $15,000. We voted on 8,500 or 8,000. And so, and the reason being is that they were getting a donation of $5,000 a year, plus we added a little bit to it last year to make up for paying for their taxes, and then a little bit to go with it. So they'd have like a couple $1,000 plus the taxes. And the city manager at that point authorized and put it in for the whole 15, and that was not appropriate. It was not what we voted on. So now they have since gone and they have made it through the process and have been declared as tax exempt. So we had been reimbursing them their taxes plus giving them a little bit. So now their request of $15,000 is, we're already giving them almost $5,000 that we aren't taxing. And then this would be $15,000 free and clear, which is an extraordinary increase. So I would highly recommend that line item go back to 5,000 at the most.
Did you wanna speak to that?
Yeah, right now, it's completely taken out, so that number that you guys have in front of you, there's no money going to Quaggy at this time,
Yeah.
It's zero. So the 15 has been taken out.
So I don't mind giving them some money for their operations, but we've already, this last year, wiped out all their back taxes they hadn't paid for 3 years. We made them tax exempt going forward, so they're getting a gift from the taxpayer of almost $5,000 now because we can tax exempt. So, if you look at it that way, we're already giving them a donation because they aren't paying taxes anymore.
What's the total for outside requests?
The total that came in was 75,027.
And Laura, what do we have
Right now,
budgeted?
it's up 60,000.
Well, if we took that 15 out, that would drop it to 60.
So anyway, I just kind of wanted everyone to kind of know the back. So they came back to the city went through the process with Lewis and the board voted, and the board ended up voting in majority to authorize tax exempt status. So they no longer pay taxes. So in essence, the taxpayer is now, gifting that money to them because it's no longer in our budget.
Did Jeff bring up one of his times when he's being nasty? Just almost like maxing out, like no outside requests above 5 or 7,500 or
We did have that
something along those
conversation.
lines. Either that or cutting everything
And
down.
there's-
I'm not being nasty, I still.
No,
want to
I'm
see
giving you a
capital.
hard time. I'm giving you a hard time.
There's two of these that are.
I bring it up because I agree with it.
20's too much.
Yeah, there's two of these that are
I'm sorry,
20.
but, there's
Outside
other
of those
places.
two, all of them are under 6,200. except for those two.
Cap it at $5,000, 7,500 maybe, but 20 grand.
Is that the consensus of this group, is that we drop it to, we cap it at 5,000, or we will make that change, we'll make that note tonight, you can think about it.
Someone tell me what page that's on. Table of contents.
Yeah. I don't think the budget sheet was in either, because we weren't done the outside.
Oh, they're separate?
We weren't done the application process when the budget first started, so it just shows.
I mean, the two that would be most impacted by that would be the chamber
In winter.
and wintergreen. And I would feel if there was a change of that magnitude, it should be probably phased over a few years, so it's not terribly impactful to the organization right away.
I would say I would think it'd be more impactful than the green, but.
Yeah.
At the same time,
Well,
the,
Wintergreen's a 501c3, so they can apply for grants. The chamber is a C6, they cannot apply for grants.
you should have a class with them,
They've taken it.
paint and sip and grant.
Paint and sip and grant.
Okay, are we done with key pressure points? Yeah. So the changes since the last workshop, and Laura's gonna give you walk you through the paper you have today. So we ended the contract for the media officer, that's about $66,000 savings. We accepted the IT service and scope, and that was about $17,000. We added $50,000 from surplus. We re-engaged the government surplus, and that was that database.
Right.
And we classified positions, and the savings for that calculated is about $45K. And Laura, do you wanna go over the sheet?
So I provided you all an updated tax commitment work. So you'll see, the bottom portion, so you have two, the bottom portion's where we're at, the top is where we've started. So if you look, we are currently, like Sonia said, $296,616 over the approved municipal expenses from last year. We're down obviously the $686,000 revenue sharing, but we are projecting $284,164 in increased revenue compared to last year. I did increase the surplus up to $800,000. We're looking at $900,000 in surplus this year. So right now, for the total appropriation for the city of Presque, we are looking at $499,201 over last year, which is a 2.9% increase overall.
What do you bump into 1800?
So it was at 750, so I put it at 800,000 instead of 750.
Right, is that what you're using to offset?
And on average, it's about 800,000 each year that we do. One year it was over $1 million, last year it was 600,000, and then there was another year that was 800 as well. It's been the last 3 to 4.
So really you're short.
If you don't do surplus.
Budget's cash flow, not much short.
So the areas that we need council direction, and when I get at the end of this, you might see that there are other things or have other things that you think we need direction on, that's okay too. Long-term investments, do we want to start talking about investing and what do we want to invest in? And part of that conversation will happen during the strategic planning step. But if something comes available, that council really wants to buy, then we ought to have a plan for how we're going to do that and what we're gonna do for long-term investments. One example with that is that we take the debt service and we say, okay, in 2027, this is paid off. What are we gonna finance? What are we gonna do? Or are we? So long-term investment planning. Capital equipment, are we doing the best that we can do? Should we do more? I think that is a conversation that when it comes to a $400,000 excavator, we need your direction on that. Further staffing changes, if we go any further than the staffing changes that we have, it changes our service level, and it certainly sends a ripple effect throughout our staff. So we do have an open position at facilities, the facilities maintenance position. I haven't talked with Tyler about that yet, but that would be the only other staffing change other than what is in my transition plan that we haven't really looked at. I'm not sure what to do with Versant. The rumor is, and this came from Norm Bollinger, that we'll have a 9% increase. We have neither seen that in writing nor had any confirmation of that. The question before me is, do we calculate 9%, which is about $45,000? Or do we leave it and see what's going to happen and have surplus take care of that?
What's that increase on?
Electricity?
Yeah, but so they would be increasing that all customers?
It wasn't all customers, but whatever category all our departments fall in, it was us.
Okay, so that's not like street light expense or anything.
I'm not sure, Doug, it's a good question, I'm not sure. I'm guessing that they'll outline that when they send some sort
That
of
45
notification.
includes all of them.
Yeah,
Right
45 is all of us.
Yeah, usually something like that is go to PUC.
It already has,
Oh.
according to us. But we just haven't been notified of it. So at this late in the game, what happens when they do this? Do we add it back in or do we leave it out? And very simply, what number over 0 increase can we agree on? What is our target? Where do you want us to be? And then TIF district, what expenses do we have? Can the TIF district offset? And that's another strategic planning conversation that probably will take far longer, but we're going to need some council input on that particular one.
So maintenance expenses, Mike, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Do we want to have them research a little bit about the potential of that?
Maintenance as far as TIF or like if I think the TIF is to be used for the downtown, and if the plowing contract that we have every year, that's $165,000 for the downtown, fell into that. I think it might make sense to use that to offset the budget.
So what is the money doing right now?
It's going into an account for the TIF. So this year the TIF was $471,164. That it increased over last year.
You can pass a budget tonight if you wish on the numbers that we've given you. Or we've got a budget workshop on the 8th, the 9th, and the 17th. So we've got some time. But if you want to be done with this, we can be done with this evening. Or I send you all this stuff, you think about it, give me some feedback, and go from there. What if we just?
So I guess, personally speaking, I'd like to kind of see where that conversation on that goes. And then what your final determination on transitional salary things are, because I don't think you've got that completely.
I do.
No. So I don't really, I guess the thing is, if we pass the budget tonight, and we can, but then what we do is we set in motion, in black and white, that the citizens get taxed an additional amount that may not be necessary after we vet the final items. And I guess, you know, we're not under any pressure to do that, except for it just requires us to come back. And I think to be fair to our constituents, you know, if we still have some things that are fairly large items that might offset things, I guess I'd be for pushing this ahead to just get the final information, and if it's possible, it's possible, if it's not, it's not, but,
I mean, I'd like to know for asphalt, like, if we average the next 5 years, what that number should be. Cause like, looking back at 2017, we were spending 150 grand on asphalt. Then 2019, it was 320. And then 22, it was 380. And then 23 and 24, it's been 570 and 620. So, is it going out that much because that's what our streets are needing, or are we starting to put more money into our streets than we need to?
It's a great question, we'll do some work on that.
I would say maybe material costs.
Well, I'm sure it's some of that. And I'm sure back in 17 and 18, it was deferred maintenance because we weren't getting revenue sharing, so we were flowing back on it, so we had to catch up, but like, if we were just gonna stabilize it, like what should it be?
right,
If the tonnage hadn't gone up threefold in 7-8 years.
No.
Benefits
well,
that.
we didn't cut that much though, that in the last few years, we really didn't, because Dana made a kind of a deal with us at the point, because he was very involved in the contractual items and such, and he said, look, you know, you've gotta do, was it 400,000, you said, we need to put equipment and such at a certain level for a number of years, and we did some things with paving, and we caught up on things, did we not, Dana?
I think capital improvements were 400,000.
Yeah.
But then COVID hit.
Yeah, and prices are going up, but I guess my point is that we made a pretty good effort, I guess is my point.
Oh, I'm not trying to attack you.
No, but I just wanted to give you some history, that I don't think we really had that much deferred maintenance. I think Dana, you know, came to us and said, look, you do have deferred maintenance on equipment, very much so, and we were really behind the 8 ball, and he gave us a goal to meet and said, the next 3 or 4 years, you need to do this to catch us up so that we can just put it in our budget and continually keep ahead of it. And we met that goal. I remember doing that. And then on the paving, I think, you know, one year we cut $100,000 out of the paving. I remember doing that. But I don't remember us cutting large amounts like we've been talking about this year, about, you know, out of it. I think the last 2 years have been extraordinary in that realm. I don't think we've done that.
You cut, yeah, 500.
We did. I said the last 2 years we have talked about it, but previous to that, we might have cut 50 or 100,000 here or there, but it was not large amounts like this.
You know, when did the state start their BS program of 50-50 for state aid roads?
Well, it's optional, but we probably been involved with that since 2021.
Because we utilize that on a few roads.
We did.
Was that in addition, would that have accounted for some of that?
So we, right in that RSMS that we have, those state aid roads are figured in with that calendar as well as when they're due, and that's the streets we choose to put in for that MPI for that year.
So it's not like we spent the same and then added another 150 for just one state aid road or something.
They're built right into the schedule.
These bigger, Hank, these bigger construction guys, do they have remotely similar lease programs for equipment that kind of like enterprise, but not really like enterprise?
No.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So the only thing you would have would be Grand Rental. If you went further south, you would have United and all of that. Most of the companies up here own their own equipment.
But someone like Sarber, they don't, I mean, they're turning over equipment all the time, they don't have like a 5-year type lease thing or up to a certain number of hours and then, or they literally just buying and trading.
That's it.
That's where our excavator came from, is Sotheby's. We bought that used from them back in 2012.
Right, but they're that's just a fixed purchase and trade, they don't have a lease type program in that industry or something.
No.
What was the ask, Mike, what was your ask for him for payment? Just want me an average?
Yeah, well, cause it will fluctuate up and down because you pave whole roads, but they pull it out of a reserve, so I'd rather just see what the average would be for the next 5 years.
Fund it and maybe use
Well, cause like
three-quarters of 1 year and you
next
use
year might be a bad year
25%
because we're
the next
chip
year
sealing a bunch of
and
roads,
averages
so.
out.
And I think you mentioned this before, but as far as debt service goes, I think you mentioned we're underutilizing compared to like what the standard is.
Yeah, so that came from our auditors 3 years ago. And what the auditors said is that we were doing a good job with our operation costs, keeping them low. We were doing a fairly good job now, having improved our capital improvement plan. But that we were not investing long-term into the community with bigger projects. Now that was pre-airport, so we've certainly increased debt service significantly. We have the downtown VPI, which will be 10% of that project too. So we have to factor those in for long-term financial planning. But his feeling was that we could do some work on our investment into the community, and I probably won't get this exactly right, but the percent of which we are borrowing compared to our total budget is very, very low. So strategic planning is where we can really flush some of those long-term investments out and not necessarily at this budget level.
I mean, I just see that as an opportunity for years like this, right, where we kind of get shafted on revenue sharing. You know, this is where we would use something like that, you know, purchase an excavator or something like that.
Historically, this council has discussed taking out a note for heavy equipment. It's been a difficult thing to do because you understand you're just shifting costs down the road for those things. So it doesn't always, it solves problems. But if it turns out that our strategic planning priorities are housing and infill of tax acquired properties and those sorts of things, then that debt service could come in very handy. If there are areas in the community where there are large amounts of land that we want to purchase for housing developments or whatever, then that debt service could, my personal philosophy is that we not take out a note for heavy equipment. We find a way. But that is a financial philosophy that would be up to this board, for sure.
I mean, I see it as it is a shifting cost, but it's a planned cost, right? So, you know, yes, we're gonna take out $100,000 note or what have you, but you know what the budget's for the next. We're not gonna get hit with a $300,000 request. So
Yeah.
it's just an opportunity.
Well, if you follow that philosophy, where would your tipping point be?
That's a good question.
Because if all you're doing is borrowing money, you're kicking that can at some point in time.
Oh yeah, you have to have a plan, or you can't keep kicking the can. That's, I mean, you had mentioned at the beginning, we need a plan before we start doing anything.
Yeah, a good plan is So if you guys have any more questions tonight, I think our work is done here for the evening.
Do we wanna come to a consensus on a number that is okay for us to be above flat? I don't think flat's reasonable.
I don't think so either, that's the reality of it.
I mean, I'd be fine with us being 300,000 or 400,000 over last year, based on what the world is doing. But I would also like to see some growth in the right places so that the same people that have been feeling the increases aren't the ones feeling the next increase.
Yeah, I agree with all that. So I did have one question, and I forgot I was wanted to ask this. So you increased the revenue, let's see, yeah, it went up. So like other non-property tax revenue went up 110,000. Do you have, where did that come from?
Yeah, some of that was investment interest, we bumped that up a little bit more.
question. The only other question I had is the list of donations that were the outside requests we're making. Yeah, just
Okay, next one. Aren't you like 3 inches long?
Oh, that's fine.
I realize how quickly that probably wasn't the best idea.
Thank you.
And Kim this year is managing the outside requests, so if you have specific questions about that, she's gonna be your point person for that. So feel comfortable reaching out to her.
And just so my recall of this, in outside request, that it has nothing to do with the homeless shelter or the animal shelter. They're in a different part of the budget
Right, and
entirely.
cemeteries, very
Yeah,
different.
different.
right.
They're in
part.
unclassified.
Those are
Very
very
classic.
classified.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say, yeah. Good, good.
We need a cap on some.
Hank, to answer your question before, we're right about 14,000 for the last 2 years in maintenance costs for that excavator.
Is that soft cost as well, or is that just nuts and bolts?
That's just parts and labor.
And that's not salary?
No,
Or
that's just,
overtime.
that's just parts and labor.
So you're not looking at any added like care costs or anything, something like that?
Yeah,
How many years have you guys had that excavator?
Bought that in 2012, so 13 years.
It was used.
It was 3,700 hours on it.
Some of those.
It's not clear here, but.
No, we say, but that's another part of it too.
What was, I don't know if you got this so far, what would the average, I mean, if you average of maintenance expenses, I know the past 2 years you said it was over 4 grand, but like, for the first 10 years of operation, what was the difference? A few $100.
I can go back and pull all those numbers. We have all the old.
I just wonder when it goes from just, I know I'm only, say, $2,500 a year for service and maintenance to $5 grand a year for actual hard parts replacement and other, service labor and whatnot.
Yeah, I can go back I'll go back as long as they've been keeping that MVR report that we do, and I can pull those and see when that
Yeah,
increase
and
happened.
it also, it might be kind of an interesting gauge, I guess, going forward, when you're looking at a machine and you can kind of anticipate, okay, when this machine gets to, 6,500 hours or 7,000 hours or whatever, that's gonna start costing us $5 grand a year just to keep it going. So you kind of have an idea of,
So
when you measure.
Interesting piece of that was your downtime and whether there's behind your work.
are you looking at normal wear and tear, or are you looking at
Yeah,
what
normal annual service.
Right, okay. I'm just kind of curious because it's like, what you do for like normal wear and tear on a piece of equipment isn't necessarily what's being used out on the job sites. I mean, it could be used a little bit harder, which is going to extend that excessive wear on parts and everything else.
And just another interesting point I was telling them. So we have been looking at some other options for used ones because we did buy this one used. Both cat and deer. Looking at the cost of the used one with cat specifically, it's only a $15,000 difference for a new one and used because the used ones have so many discounts that they can apply to the municipality that they can't do with a used piece of equipment. So when you're looking at new and used going through a dealership, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot to buy a used one that has a bunch of hours on it when you can get a brand new one for $15,000.
And that's 250 grand.
We're sitting around 350 before trading. Their estimate right now is their quote was 350,000.
You're 5%.
And Nate, can you remind us how many days out of the year that excavator will be used?
So,
And for the type of jobs it will be used?
so pretty much once the snow is gone, that excavator's out every day, whether it's doing culverts or whether it's doing ditches, fixing drainage. So it's right about from May through about October, end of October, beginning of November, that's out every day for the most part, as long as it's up and running.
I think we should just fund it from the solid waste reserve personally, but I'm just one person.
Well, no, that's what we had discussed with Dana.
And a lot of that, I don't think that we can discount enough, or, I don't know how you want to say it. Our winters are shit on equipment. That's why I was pushing for this enterprise thing, that, you know, let them go sell the 3 and 5 year old things at auction and, you know, then deal with the rest in another year or two. And I assume there's similar things in large equipment like that.
We have got to have one of the harshest wintertime environments on road vehicles in the world.
But I think you've gotta weigh the aspects of it being new, and, I mean, you're not going overboard, but
The rust, the corrosion, the grit, the dirt, it kills,
it means moving parts.
it kills everything that moves or is made of steel for anybody. It's see it every day.
Yeah, I think all the data that he's gonna look up is pretty good, but I agree with my opinion, based on the use and the need for it. We should do a big
Did you
suggestion.
kind of come to the same conclusion with your stuff?
That's why we went to galvanized frames and that's the advantage of custom truck is you can order. That case helps us survive this winter. So we've been ordering galvanized frames.
Well,
Big difference.
and we were finding these used ones, and how long did we hang on to
Yeah,
those? So,
yeah, that was,
I mean, it's a learning experience, but it's,
yeah,
again, the downtime.
yeah, I agree, we were excited with the price tag, but at the end of the day, the downtime, the maintenance costs, and we only got 4 or 5 years out of them, it turned out to be not a good deal, at all. It cost us more.
So we'll get you a new excavator and we'll get line aligned.
All about it. Just buy it, we'll ride a line it ourselves, so we're good.
So if there's nothing else, that's all that the staffers have for you tonight. We'll get busy on the new request for information and put it all together for you.
So back here on 7?
I think it's the
Monday,
8th.
Monday the 8th.
Yeah.
Well, is that, I guess, was that long enough time to pull the information together, or do you wanna skip those and go for just the later date and just finalize it then?
My preference would be to give us till December 17th to see what Versailles is going to do, to give
Yeah,
us
why don't we
time
just
for a
cancel the
transition.
interim too and just go for that?
Okay, if you don't think we need any
I
more
don't think there's any reason to
discussion.
come back here and just
Okay.
talk about nothing.
Good with it where we're at, I mean, we're gonna move.
So as far as like
Semi good with it.
our number, so
Yeah.
300,000,
I'm
we're all
just
in
about
agreement.
passive right now.
I think it was 3 to 4.
If we can come in there, I think we probably, is part of what we're gonna do, if we do better than that by some miracle, then hallelujah. And
According to what I'm seeing from the response, they're still waiting for the system to go through and to approve what they have.
Takes 4 years.
If it does go into effect, the 9.3% increase you're talking about is going to be for everybody, not just municipal.
I've seen the letter I got.
So 500 kilowatts are gonna pay an extra $12, and those thousands are gonna pay 25.
Great. Good times.
All of us solar panels,
Louis had something
Well,
from
that's
Chuck
it.
that he needed to share with you tonight.
How
Just
much
wanna
do
run
you
this
put
by you
solar
quick,
panels in
guys,
this budget?
and the question really is, do you wanna see this on your next agenda or not? He got an offer just today, and you just sent this, on 5 Grove Street, which is one of the vacant lots, we have it listed for 25,000, and the offer is for 10. So the question is that something you wanna consider on your next agenda, or would you just so not consider?
It's a vacant lot
It's a
with,
vacant lot, 5 Grove Street,
is it a buildable vacant lot?
very buildable, it's a nice lot,
What do they wanna offer, how much?
10.
What do they wanna do with it?
Oh, is that the one we were talking about the last time with like the driveways and all that other, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what do they wanna do with it? They wanna
If you put a house on it, then I don't wanna sell it for 10 grand for someone to turn into a lawn next to their house. If they wanna build a house on it, then
And they did not give us that information.
I guess I would think differently, but I don't really wanna give any more good deals to people who can put a lawn next to their house.
Well, you have the name,
unbuildable lots.
Yeah. Is there any way that you can ask them what their intentions
so is
are?
there a neighbor named that?
Not that you wanna put restrictions on
I would have to look, and it's a good possibility, and I would have to look.
So if the neighbor named that, then it was gonna be
So,
long.
so that's.
Well, you said strategic planning is looking for development housing, so it might be smarter to just hang on to it.
Well, yeah, no, that's,
Get an inventory.
I'd agree, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is I think, that's what we're looking, we want housing, we want people to live, and, we're gonna sell for long.
Right.
Unless they're putting tents on it, I guess there's not gonna be any housing.
So, to make sure, the whole perspective, we turn it on the market.
Have a
for
brainstorm.
about
Place
2.5
for
months.
and mobile homes, we had, we look at the place across the street, I know exactly.
The rest of it, I'm thinking about is.
We did for 25.
So,
Just wants an answer for what put on the agenda, I'd say no.
5 rooms.
well, we got a full agenda next month anyway. Big agenda.
Industrial council to why that.
That is,
So the downtown area.
Yeah.
Value.
And oh joy, oh bless you, we'll be there plenty of. It'll be that way, Harold.
I mean, it is a neighborhood,
but
I don't know.
I mean, if you said $1,000, like business,
There you go, all that.
I'm wondering if kind of that
So
concept.
it's not an abutter, there is no abutter that owns the next property owner. That's what we have, they're on the market 3.5 months.
Alright, yeah.
But I just got
We want it on the agenda.
Split it in the middle.
Maybe
Split it in the middle, so that's.
You're saying
Use your loud voice to write
I'm
these
saying,
He just wants an answer.
So, hey guys, do we want it on the agenda or not? We have a full agenda meeting
No.
next January, so,
Thumbs down.
okay.
Okay, there's a second one. And this one, I
Send
think
them
is
to
a
the
no-brainer. 25 Turner, it's listed at 23, they have offered 10 and then one more TV. We don't do more TVs.
No problem, man.
answer.
No, thank you, no, thank you. All right. Thank you for your time, your help, and your thoughtful questions.
Yeah,
17.
Right, though.
17.
right.
Okay.
So, motion to adjourn. We out of here,
So careful.
How many agree?
David,
all of us.
if anybody,